What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm DFS NBA live stream. John Impemba here with James Grande to preview today's 11-game NBA slate. James, you were the man with the plan. You did the playbook and example lineups today. How you feeling about everything? Anything interesting really sticking out to you that you are really focusing on?
Nothing like more interesting than it was last night when we were doing the podcast. I mean, obviously things change. We've gotten news that certain players are playing, certain players aren't. But I mean, for what it is what it is. I mean, we have an 11-game slate with really enticing totals, like we've alluded to on the podcast last night, in that late night hammer. And we have some really ugly games that are going to kick off the night as well. Some of the earlier games. There are a lot of really good mid-tier plays today. I'll say that. Like, obviously, we want to get the Giannis's. We want to jam Giannis. We want to jam Curry. We want to jam Westbrook into our lineup. Don't be afraid to do a lot of fair and balanced builds today, because there are guys in the mid-tier that could 10x, and you could see a lineup with like 375 points over on DK win everything with no Giannis, with no Curry, with no Embiid Cat. So I think there are a lot of really good mid-tier plays that we should look at. So, you can do stars and scrubs if some more value opens up for, obviously, the Nerlens Noel value. But I think fair and balanced builds are really strong tonight.
Yeah, I mean that's the road that I've taken is fair and balanced too. But I'm kind of in that same boat where like it's tough to build a lineup, then look at guys like Westbrook and Harden and all those on the slate and be like, Anthony Davis went for 40 and 20 last night, and people will have those players. So fortunately, on these larger slates, ownership tends to be a bit more spread out, so you can, and maybe it won't hurt you as much as if, Anthony Davis goes for 80 at 60%. But, I agree with you. I think value or mid-tier, rather, is kind of the way I've built. I like a lot of guys in that, 5 to 7K-ish range. And I think there's upside between those guys can only get you, 40 or so fantasy points, and maybe you're looking at a 320, 330 finish. So, why don't we waste no more time here and just jump into it? We'll look at the point guard position. We have, Houston, Russell Westbrook. We talked about it a lot. He has almost triple-double in every game he's played. I think he has one so far, right? Yep. And now he gets this matchup against Washington. I can't tell really who is more of the point guard and shooting guard. I haven't, seen too much of that. But, I mean, the matchups in that front backcourt, it's going to be Ish Smith, it's going to be Isaiah Thomas, it's going to be Bradley Beal. Either way, Westbrook is in a position to smash. And we've noticed that he has been doing it against second units most of the time. He gets off slow, everybody gets frustrated, and next thing you know, we go into halftime, and he's on his way to another triple-double. So break down this top part of the point guard position for me.
Yeah, man, I think you nailed it on the head. We're getting Westbrook against second units. I think that's just that's what it is. He's going to see Isaiah Thomas. He's going to see Bradley Beal's backup. He's going to see guys like that. Maybe some Troy Brown Jr. Tonight. He's going to exploit all of them. 2 double-doubles and a triple-double. It's very hard to ignore. Plus, Houston has the highest implied total on the board. So, we have that going for us. I love that Golden State Phoenix game, late night hammer. I love seeing Curry's ownership under 10%. Our projected ownership has him at 9. I love that. I think that is the most stackable game on the slate. I think that game, we have it all. We have pace. We have no defense being played. And, we have the highest implied total on the board. So, what more do you need? We saw Curry in their first good offensive game go for 55 fantasy points, a double-double, and didn't play the last 7 minutes of the game. That's the Curry that we expected to see. That's why I put him slightly ahead of Westbrook. But again, it's splitting hairs. You could literally play either of them. I think me, you, Sean, I think all of us are on the same 2 mid-tier guys in Kyle Lowry and Malcolm Brogdon. I think both of them are fantastic cash game plays. We're talking about Brogdon in a massive pace-up spot against Brooklyn, a guy who's leading them in both points and assists already. Now he gets a pace-up spot against a poor defender in Kyrie. I love it. I think the price tag is spot on, especially over on DK 7,300 is really good. And we get the extra added bonus. Kyrie isn't that careful with the ball. Considering has the ball so often, it is hard to be careful with the ball. You see all the guys that dominate usage generally are the guys leading in turnovers too, and that just comes with the territory. So I think considering Brogdon is such a good defender, I mean, we get those extra steals over on FanDuel. I don't hate the price tag over there either. Kyle Lowry is just so solid. We get the points, we get the assists, we get the rebounds. He's just going to get us 40, and we're going to move on. Perfect cash game play. I think De'Aaron Fox is a really interesting tournament play, considering how bad Charlotte is defensively. Like, they are dreadful. We get a really big peso spot. The Kings have been actually playing very slow, and Charlotte's been playing very fast, and they're 28th in defensive rating. So I think De'Aaron Fox is a very sneaky tournament play. I think this is the breakout game. We were 1 assist shy of a double-double. If he doesn't get a double-double tonight, I'm going to make a bold statement and say he scores 30 actual. I think there's one or the other. I think this is a perfect spot for Fox. There's no rim protection either, and we know Fox can get to the hole.
Yeah.
He's an elite finisher at the rim he can blow by anybody. So I think I'm gonna put out that bold statement: 30 from Fox or double, maybe both. Honestly, it could be both. That we could be. We saw him.
That would win a slate, I think, if he goes for 30 and 10 plus for sure. So
especially considering the 4 guys we mentioned are going to be probably where all the ownership goes, right? And we could probably throw Lillard in there. I put Lillard in my players that I like, but I didn't make the playbook.
Yeah. Same
with Kemba. I think he's a tournament play as well, especially with no Jaylen Brown now. I think there's going to be there's obviously more usage because Jaylen's been saturating a lot of usage this year for Boston. So I think Kemba's also a decent tournament play. So those would be my top tier guys at the point guard position.
Yeah, maybe I missed it. Did you go over Rubio?
I didn't. Rubio's an elite play. I think that game in pretty much every facet is just elite. I mean, we're going to mention 8 guys potentially. A couple guys that didn't even make my playbook that I know you're going to want to talk about, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I didn't. Again, that's not something I want to do. Oversaturate the playbook with that one game. But we will talk about other guys, I'm sure. Rubio's an elite play. I mean, this, again, I'm going to say it. I think he can challenge for assist leader this year, considering, one of the assist leader, Westbrook, plays with Harden, and obviously Harden could take away from him. We don't have John Wall playing. So, I mean, I think there's a path for Rubio to lead in assists, especially considering the advancement of, Oubre offensively. We have Devin Booker next to him. So I love Rubio. And then I kind of like Spencer Dinwiddie. And I think it's because we're going to see Brogdon guard Kyrie. And I think that leaves Dinwiddie, who's going to play 30 minutes because they need that secondary scoring. We know LeVert's going to score. But after LeVert, Kyrie, I mean, it's Dinwiddie. And we saw, he's been 14-plus actual points in all 3 games this year. And he's going to see Jeremy Lamb because they're not going to take Brogdon off Kyrie. It's going to be Kyrie Brogdon all night. And that's not something that I necessarily want to deal with if I'm Kyrie. So I think that he could defer, maybe be not a pass first, because that's never going to be Kyrie's game. He's not going to be he's a scorer. He's just a scorer. But we could see him defer a little more. And I think Dinwiddie is a guy that we saw last year. I mean, he's a really good scorer. When he gets going, he can't be stopped. So I think in tournaments, I mean, a 1% projected ownership where a lot of people were going to, I mean, let's not sugarcoat this. Everyone's going to be paying up at point guard. I think a way to go contrarian and go spend down is Spencer Dinwiddie, and that's probably the furthest I would go down at point guard.
Okay, yeah, I think that's probably not too wrong either. I think just knowing his GPP upside is worth taking a look at. Going over what you have listed in shooting guards, as you mentioned, we can talk all day about Phoenix and Golden State, so we don't need to tell you to play Devin Booker. Like, he's someone that we're definitely going to be on. James Harden, someone we're going to be on. One player that our whole team was in on today, almost from the start of looking at the slate, was Zach LaVine. And he has this matchup against Cleveland. Lesser players, as I mentioned, today on XM have scored well against Cleveland. You just look at, Pat Connaughton just went for 17 off the bench. Evan Fournier had 16. Like, other guards of lesser talent have scored on this Cleveland team. So now you have Zach LaVine with his incredible usage rate, the shots that he's going to take. I'm in on him. I think I saw his Vegas total for points today was 22.5, which is a pretty good number. So Vegas is expecting him to score. And I would even think he goes over that tonight. So Zach LaVine is one of my top plays overall on the slate today.
Yeah, I'm taking the over with you. I think this is another guy that we could see 30 points. I mean, John, just think about last year. We were every night. Colin Sexton was on a slate. We were attacking him. We were attacking Colin Sexton, and now he's their starting shooting guard. And then who do they bring in off the bench, John? I think you mentioned that Jordan Clarkson has like a minus 21 this year.
Yeah.
Doesn't play any defense. I mean, these are the guys that are legitimately going to be standing in front. Well, for a couple of seconds standing in front of Zach LaVine. And I mean, he's the Bulls' leading guy in usage, leading guys in fantasy points per minute. I don't think we need to tell you that he is a fantastic play. The price is right. I mean, yes, we're looking for 40 on FanDuel. We're looking for like 37, 38 on DK. But like, he could get that in actual points considering who he's facing tonight. Plus, there's like Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love clog the lane defensively, but they're not going to protect the rim against this athletic freak. So I think Zach LaVine's in for a huge night, and I'm totally with you. I think he's one of my favorite plays of the slate as well.
Yeah, for sure. If we're looking at other guys that you have listed here, there is no Kawhi. So, are you with Lou Williams? Obviously, because, we know the upside's there. Does it worry you at all that maybe Utah, runs them out and, you don't get full minutes here on Lou? Or are you just in the fact that he's going to get on the floor and even if he plays 25 minutes in a blowout, he's probably taking 20 shots because he's the only guy they got?
So it's definitely worrisome. I think we can all admit that, and I think the ownership projections speak volumes as to why he not many people are going to play him. Like, that just speaks to the respect that Utah's defense draws. But like you said, he's another guy. I think there's a long list of them in the NBA that can score against anyone at any given night. And it's strictly a GPP play for that reason. We're not here saying, oh, let's play him in cash because Kawhi's out. No, like he is who he is with Kawhi there. I mean, he doesn't play when Kawhi's there. He's a 32% usage guy. He's going to be that exact guy because they're not going to start him. They're going to continue Doc is going to keep the same rotations. And I think he's a nice contrarian option. I mean, 21 or more points in all 4 games this year. Who is he going to see defensively? Like, Donovan Mitchell is a good defender. I don't think that he cares as much as he cares about his offensive output. Could he see Ingles? Yeah. But again, if Lou gets going, I don't think there's anything that Joe Ingles is going to do to stop him. So I think he's a contrarian play. And I think the smart tout in Sean Mitchell put me on to CJ McCollum. I mean, at basically the same price across the industry. Cheaper on FanDuel by $200. Cheaper on FanDuel by $100 and cheaper on DK by $200. Yeah. I mean, we're potentially getting like 25 plus minutes of Dennis Schroeder defense. And I think if there is other than Brooklyn centers last year, our favorite thing to do was attack Dennis Schroeder. I mean, that's been an ongoing saga for 3 years now, attacking Dennis Schroeder defense. So I really love McCollum. I think the pivot off McCollum is to Lou Williams, SGA, and then now the chalk is now Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart chalk has never let us down, right, John?
I don't know if that's accurate, but he should at least play 30-plus minutes. He's not afraid to shoot the three, so if he does get hot, I mean, there's definitely that opportunity, for him to hit some threes and fill up the stat sheet with those defensive numbers. I'm not really too much in love with Smart. I'll throw out Carson Edwards, though, as just a total deep dive GBP pun play. If we assume Smart's moving into that starting lineup, their backup guards are going to be Edwards and Brad Wanamaker. Edwards played 22 minutes the other day, and I think he took like 11 shots or something like that. Like, he just got in and chucked, and that's basically what he did. If you remember him from the tournament, those of you who follow college basketball, he was one of the top scorers in that tournament. Played 22 minutes against the Knicks, took 11 shots. Finished with 20 fantasy points. He's $3,400 tonight. So if you're just assuming there's going to be more minutes or at the very least that role for him, he's going to come off the bench and be sort of an offensive spark plug for them. So deep dive play if you're entering, the $8, big contest tonight on DraftKings. You need some weird salary save or something. I think Carson Edwards could be value. I'm interested with McCollum, though, because you said, he could see Dennis Schroeder, and that's definitely possible. Schroeder's going to play minutes. But he does get SGA at least to start the game, right. And that's a really tough matchup,
right. True.
For McCollum. And if McCollum starts going off on on Schroeder, there's an opportunity where they won't even put Schroeder out there for that long, if the game's competitive. So I think GPPs for sure, we're calling makes sense. But there is at least the worry that, they don't have to play Schroeder as long if they don't want to, if he's really getting torched. Small forward, the question of whether or not to play Giannis tonight. Going up against Boston, they don't have anybody to defend him. There's no Al Horford anymore. Everybody else is just too small or too foul happy. He's my top overall, I think, potential scorer of the slate. I know I'm not making huge statements claiming that, but I think, at the end of the night, if everybody has their ceiling game, Giannis is going to have the highest ceiling of anybody on the slate. So at 10-8 on DraftKings, I think you can make it work. Especially with the value tonight. We didn't mention Wayne Ellington, but starting tonight, min price, there's other value on the slate. You can definitely comfortably fit Giannis in there and some of the other players that we've mentioned. But I'll let you talk about the other guy that we think is probably the chalkiest of chalk, Kelly Oubre.
So from our ownership standpoint, he's not. And, granted, it's a GPP.
I question the ownership a little bit. I think that Suns Phoenix game's going to be a little bit higher than we're showing. Maybe we'll get an update that right before roster lock, and that will change. But the other night, Oubre was, or not Oubre, that Warrior stack with the Pelicans, everybody's 40%. So I'm expecting guys like Oubre, especially 62, to be 20 to 30. If he isn't, well, then you and I are going to have a very good night, James.
I agree. And you say 20, 30, and that's probably GPPs. In cash, I don't see a way that he's not 50% owned, because you look at small forward. You just go down the list. You could just go over to FanDuel and look at small forward. Gordon Hayward, cash games, no. Larry Nance, cash games, no. Anunoby on FanDuel, probably a little too expensive. TJ Warren, these guys aren't cash plays. And you're telling me Oubre at 69 against the worst defense in the league this year isn't going to be 50% on cash, and then 62 on draft. I'm getting worked up, but like you said, I kind of hope the ownership is low on Oubre. He's a guy who's averaging 37 fantasy points. He scored 18 or more actual points in all 4 games, and he's really stuffing the box score. So and who's going to guard him? Who's guarding him on Golden State?
Maybe Draymond, right? But I assume he's too quick for him. So
he's going to be too quick for Draymond. It is a lock and load play for me. I think Kelly Oubre is point per dollar. If he's not my favorite play, he's 1B.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good option. You have Siakam listed down there. I like the play. He just needs to stay out of foul trouble for me.
100%.
Because he's having huge games while having to sit large chunks of games because he's picking up 4, 5, 6 fouls, and causing some issues there. So Siakam's fine. Again, not someone I'm probably having any ownership on tonight, but he has 50-point upside, so I'm not going to kill you there. Another one of our top plays. Again, it's a lot of plays. We're going to say top play. But there's a tier that we just consider of guys that are really in strong positions, and Kevin Love is that tonight. We already talked about attacking Cleveland with Zach LaVine. I think on the other side, you take Love and you attack Chicago.
Yeah, the Bulls are the worst rebounding team in basketball. They're 28th in DVP against power forwards. Kevin Love, it's vintage Kevin Love right now, John. We talked about it on the pod last night. The most impressive thing, I think, to the both of us were the fact that he was playing 33 minutes or more a night, which we haven't seen. And yes, granted, injuries have played a large role, but talk about trade stock on the rise, huh? 33 plus minutes. I know he probably wants to stay healthy because he wants to go to a contender. Especially getting all the taste of championships and potential championships that he could have won with the LeBron-led Cavaliers. He wants to go to a better team, prove that he's healthy. This is the best opportunity. I think Kevin Love is a smash play, especially on FanDuel, because there is nobody, we're going to talk about this position, and we're going to go down the list, and we're going to talk about guys, and we're going to talk about Love, we're going to talk about Sabonis, we're going to talk about Draymond. You get below them, it is very bleak. And I'm saying that that is the most respectful term I could use, bleak. The position sucks after them. And pricing sucks. I think there's guys that are way too highly priced. There are guys that are just Rashawn Holmes price tag makes me want to throw up on FanDuel. It's just ugly. So I think Love is going to get a lot of ownership tonight, but I mean, it's warranted ownership because the position sucks and he's in such a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just a smash spot. We've, watched what he's done so far. Hopefully they continue to play him, because he's gotten the minutes, and when he's healthy, Kevin Love has always been a very, productive player. So healthy Love, love him. Got to put him in your lineups. And it's been a great spot. The question you and I talked briefly about today was Sabonis or Turner in this matchup against Brooklyn, because we love attacking centers against Brooklyn, but they're both just elite plays in this matchup. You do have Sabonis in your playbook. You don't have Miles Turner, so why Sabonis versus Turner?
It's not so much that I don't like Turner. I just think that there's more upside for Sabonis. Plus, I like the position at center more than I like the position at power forward. Sabonis has 2 double-doubles. There's 50-point upside here in a pace-up spot. It's just one of those situations. Like, we're going to get Taurean Prince against Sabonis. That's not going to bode well for Taurean Prince. That's not going to bode well for the Brooklyn front court. Do I think that obviously Jared Allen is the most exploitable center? I mean, he proved it time and time again last couple of years. That's why we've attacked Brooklyn ad nauseum for the last 2 years. But I just think that there's more upside to Sabonis' game right now than there is Turner, considering what Sabonis is doing as a starter. So do I like Turner? Sure. I think that power forward sucks more. So that's what's kind of gravitating me more towards Sabonis. And I think there's more upside to Sabonis just purely based on his scoring plus rebounding output against Brooklyn is really through the roof.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And again, there's a chance that like Turner could go and block like 5 shots.
We have massive news, John.
Who's not playing?
And Steven Adams is not playing tonight. So that's perfect because Nerlens Noel is a power forward on FanDuel, which is egregious because he's not a power forward. We talked about it on the pod. I think it was like 89% of his career minutes have been at center. That even might be too low. 11 minutes in power forward. I think he becomes a lock and load in cash games. I think you have to do it.
I think he is going to be in a lot of lineups tonight. Making that switch, even personally myself, because you have to. It is funny that he's a power forward only on FanDuel and a center only on DraftKings.
It is mind-boggling.
So you do have to maneuver that, but I mean, and to be honest with you, like everybody's probably making the wrong decision to go ahead. He could just bust, but I mean, he is a fantasy point per minute just beast whenever he's on the floor.
Right.
He's a guy that gives you blocks and steals at the center position at like a very high rate. He can score a little bit around the rim. He's not a great scorer, and he get you some rebounds. So this is a good spot for him. I question now whether or not, does this now make Portland go small? Maybe now you only get Whiteside on the floor for 25 or so minutes, and then their small lineup now becomes more relevant, whether it be Hazonia or Tolliver or Skylar Vicier. Like that whole grouping now, become more valuable because they go small to match up with sort of the more athletic version of Nerlens Noel, or they just stick Whiteside out there and he just backs Noel down onto the hoop all day. So, because Noel's not like a stretch center. He needs to play in the post. But I mean, at 3,300, they don't really have much behind him. Even if he plays 25 minutes tonight, I think that's a good value to throw in your lineup for sure.
I mean, it's a definite cash play. Like, don't fade him in cash. It's too easy. Don't make that mistake to fade him in cash. Even if he busts, he's going to be 70% owned. So play him in cash. Also, I want to just give a round of applause to the Thunder for getting this news out at 6:30 when their game is at 8 p.m.
Could have waited till 7:01.
I mean, they could have waited till 7:30 because they don't technically need to get the lineups out until 7:30. So bravo to them. And thirdly, I am not falling for Anthony Tolliver trap. If I'm playing anyone in that Portland front court, I'm playing Hazonia, who nobody's going to go back to because he only played 18 minutes. But we've already seen the minutes fluctuate, and I think he's just a better player. Like, Tolliver is a scrappy veteran, type of player. But, like, if this game is now up tempo, because I assume, you take a guy like Steven Adams off the floor and put a more athletic Nerlens Noel on the floor, the pace is going to pick up a little bit. Chris Paul is going to push the pace a little bit, knowing he can get out and run. I think that bodes better for Hazonia than it does Tolliver. Just going to throw that out there as a GPP dart. I put him in my playbook. I've kind of been off of him until the Steven Adams news has come to fruition. Now that we know, I'm kind of back on Mario Hazonia.
Okay. Yeah. I played Hazonia the other day. It worked out, fine. I was not expecting Tolliver to be the guy who started. I thought Hazonia may have been that guy. Tolliver got 10 boards in that game, and he was fine. So, but like you said, he limited more offensively than Hazonia is. So just that scoring upside is worth it. Jump on over to centers here. Obviously, you didn't write up any of the top guys. You have them listed at the very top as plays that you like. And Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. It's not that you're not on them. You just felt it was easier to dedicate this space to feature other players. You have Tristan Thompson here. We already talked about how much you love Kevin Love. Are you interested in playing Thompson with Love, or are you picking one or the other if you're playing Thompson?
I mean, they've both been super productive alongside one another. It's not like they're taking away from one another. So I think potentially an interesting little game stack could be the two bigs for Cleveland and bring it back with Levine on the other side. I think that's a super sharp play. Will I do it? No. Because most of the lineups that I'm probably going to build, and I think that a lot of people should build, at least over on DK, is just if you had Tristan Thompson, thank you. If you've played him in the past, thank him for what he's done the last 3 games, but say, hey, Nerlens Noel is $2,500 cheaper or $3,000 cheaper, and that's the route I'm going to take. So, and it's exactly what we said on last night's pod. Everything is moot as soon as Steven Adams is ruled in or out, because
we were stunned that he was a power forward on FanDuel.
Right. I mean that is interesting, because obviously you still have to play one of these guys on FanDuel, and again, Cat, Embiid, fine. They're just not my top guys tonight. I'd rather spend up for the point guards, Curry, Westbrook, Lillard. I'd rather go spend up on Giannis. I'd rather double spend up on power forward. But I mean, you can obviously play Joel or Big Cat. I think Vukovic is in for a big night tonight. I have a weird suspicion 1 for 13 isn't sitting well with him, or Orlando, especially considering the money they paid him this offseason. Only tournaments, obviously, but I mean the price tag. John, we saw him at almost 10K every night last season. So we're getting
It's been crazy how disappointing he's been so far.
He has been super disappointing, and the matchup isn't great, but he's really good at getting to the foul line. And Mitchell Robinson is not the most. I mean, he is a very handsy player, so I mean he could put him in foul trouble pretty quickly. Montrezl Harrell, fine for tournaments. I love Brook Lopez tonight. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about I love Brook Lopez and the fact that we know his deficiencies. We know he's not a good rebounder, but he's very good on the perimeter. I don't think Robert Williams, if he plays, is going to be able to chase him out there. Then he gets a very small Daniel Tice inside the post, and he's a very good, very underrated post player offensively. And Brook Lopez is a very good scorer. Let's just put that out on the. And he's a 20-point per game scorer in Brooklyn a few years ago. So I think there is.
Too.
Yes, and I think you can basically flip that around and say, well, he's playing a 6'5" Tice. If Tice tries to put up a shot, there's obviously a good chance it gets blocked. And there's Robert Williams, not a very skilled offensive player. Athletically, he's very gifted, but he's not going to surprise Brook Lopez with a drop step in the post. So I think there's like you said, I think there's block opportunity. I think him and Giannis make for the perfect pairing against the Celtics tonight. But again, if you're on DraftKings, you don't need to do it. You can just play Nerlens Noel.
Yep, I agree with you for sure. All right, we're 30 minutes out to roster lock. Any final thoughts here, James?
No, lineups are out, but if you're listening to this and you have lineups, I am going to adjust them right now, because there's obviously big news that we need to adjust to, and that's obviously Nerlens Noel. He's going in every cash lineup, probably GPP lineups. I will say, you can definitely fade him in GPPs. Don't fall into the trap of just playing all lineups with Nerlens. I think he's a very good play, but if you're a multi-enterer, if you multi-enter tournaments, don't play him in every line. That's my final food for thought. And also, I'm gonna get pied today, and I'm very sad about it.
Today's your pie bet?
Today is my pie. I'm paying off my.
I was able to fade the pie for the second straight week, but 2 more days till we have to make our plays again. So, we'll never know. All right, everybody. We're in subscriber chat. Sean's been in there like an animal answering everybody's questions. Value Vault article is being posted any second once we get off this live stream. So I understand you're all waiting for it. It'll be there. Playbook being updated. Lineups being updated. We're here for you up until the rest of the lock. Good luck, everybody. Let's go win some money.
Later, guys.